had an experience 19 and a half years ago. Okay, it's getting windy. Let's walk this way. My face will be shadowed, but the wind should be a little bit better. I had an experience 19 and a half years ago. I had a dream, and it was a very interesting dream, and I was up in a very high skyscraper, and I was in a classroom, and I was sitting at a kid's desk, and I was flipping through a magazine. It was a physical magazine, and I was looking at some of the ads, and there was an ad for something, and I don't remember, I wrote this down, but there was an ad for something, and the question said, underneath it, that was sort of the tagline, was, it was for a cell phone, I think, and it said, do you have a form of communication? It said, do you have a form of communication but lack the power thereof? And I thought that that was very interesting, because that was a take on a Christian scripture that Paul wrote in one of his letters that says, where he said, there will be those who come who have a form of godliness but lack or deny the power thereof. And I woke up from that to a text message that my girlfriend at the time sent me. And she sent me a text message that said, I think I have a form of godliness, but lack the power thereof. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. At the time in my life, I was having a lot of experiences like this. A lot of, it was during the peak of my deconstruction, the hottest part of me going through the fire. Before what I would consider rebirth, and I heard something speak to me right after that, and it said, "There is no one that can stop you in any way." And that was really powerful. And I don't know if that was the same day that I was shown that it was time for me to go to New Zealand or not, but let's leave that out of this. There's no one that can stop you in any way. I never understood the connection between that scripture and that message until this morning, 19 and a half years later. I was talking with a couple friends about this experience, and they were sharing their similar experiences. And what I realized is that if we are interested in the real thing, if we really want the truth, if we are motivated by a desire for purity, purity in the sense of having the real, untainted truth about something, to understanding reality in the most clear way that we can. If we're motivated by this, there will be people who, well, first of all, most people aren't going to go with us because it's a journey that requires something, a sacrifice. There's a price to pay for this type of endeavor and journey, adventure, whatever you want to call it. And they're not going to want to go. There's courage that's necessary. But there will also be those who see what you're doing and mimic it. And they will offer the world a form of what you have, godliness, a form of wisdom, a form of the truth, a form of prosperity. But they will lack the power of it because they have not earned it. They have bad motivations for sharing it. Yeah, let's say those two things. They haven't earned it, and they have bad motivations for sharing it. They don't own it. It's not earned knowledge. It is sometimes borrowed knowledge, but usually stolen knowledge. And their motivation is, let's take this pure and beautiful thing and package it in a way that other people can accept. Or let's take this really great, still, small truth, and let's amplify the signal in a way that people can hear it, even though in the process of amplifying that signal, it loses quality, it loses depth, it loses dimension. And And let's claim it as ours. Let's claim we're the ones who broke that land speed record. I think I'm coming to the conclusion that this is the space that that true adventurers live in, that true explorers live in. They live in a space of finding the pure nuggets that could change the world, and quickly seeing other people distort and amplify the signal in a way that serves them, using it to their own advantage. Sure, they're sharing a form of what you might have, but it's really just an intellectualized version of it. Sure, they're going around telling people the land speed record, but they can't tell you what it was like to break it. And because of that, there's no gravity in what they're saying. And because there's no gravity, because there's no quality, because there's no nutrition, they have to amp it up and make it louder and add a bunch of sweeteners to it and color and fireworks. They have to try to magnify the signal in order to reach people in their ego states or in their whatever you want to call it. But it's so watered down at that point. All it is a form. It's just a pretense of the truth with none of the power connected any longer. No power to change people. No power of transformation. It's the difference between instruction, which is just knowledge, and impartation, which is standing with a group of people speaking, and the words that come out of your mouth mirror the energy that you have in your body. They get both of them, and they are changed by the experience. That's impartation. We got plenty of people doing the instruction thing. I'm going to grab some knowledge and I'm going to share that knowledge. This is a game of telephone. You've got a lot of people who are doing the inspiration thing, which is I'm going to reach people on an emotional level with fireworks and charm and all the things that reach people emotionally. But very few people are doing impartation. And those that do impartation can expect that their message will be hijacked by those willing to simply reduce it to inspiration and emotionally connecting with people without making a lot of real change, but maybe trying to inspire them to change, or instruction, which is just information. But impartation is the actual changing element, is actually being able to bring change by simply being in the presence of people who want to be changed. There are those who have a form of the truth, of godliness, but lack the power thereof. And yet, there is nothing that can stop us in any way. Don't let that experience make you feel like you're an underdog in the world. You are not an underdog. Those who strive for purity, who want to do well and live well, who aren't willing to compromise in order to be seen or heard, who hold that line. You are not the underdog. It doesn't matter how many times or how many people try to run over the top of you with a bullhorn, steal what you have, or try to co-opt what you have and share it in a way that benefits them, but has no power. It doesn't matter how many times that happens, how many people do it. You're not the underdog. There is nothing that can stop you in any way. Those who are meant to hear your message will hear it. Those who are meant to respond will respond. Hold the course. Be pure. Live well. Choose the higher path. And when moments come up and somebody does do something like that, let that be a moment of self-reflection. Let that bring to light all of the aspects of yourself that may be offended, that might be hurt, and that might also be strong. It's an opportunity to celebrate the person that you have built, or that God has built with you. When somebody comes against you, when a storm blows and the house is still standing, it may have shook, but it's still standing. That's a time to celebrate. You are not the underdog. You're not. There is nothing that can stop you in any way. And the more that you rest in that truth, the more the storms will actually reveal you for who you are and give you an opportunity to emanate that to people in a way that possibly you couldn't have before. I could build a really strong house in the midst of a bunch of weak houses, and people wouldn't tell the difference. They wouldn't notice by driving by. But when the storm comes and my house is still standing, well, it's quite obvious, isn't it? In the daylight, you can have things that are light, like the sun, she back there somewhere. And if I had something, actually, I guess a street light would be better. You can have a street light shining in the daytime, and it can be next to a white post, and you can't tell which one is emanating light and which one is reflecting light. But when the dark comes, you know exactly which one is the real light and which one was just reflecting what was being sent its way. The hard times, the persecutions, these are opportunities for us and others to actually see what the truth is, how much we participate in it, and what we have to offer.